The echo drift does not just exist, it breathes. A low, rhythmic vibration pulses through the hull, traveling from the floor plates directly into the marrow of your bones. Every movement here is a negotiation with gravity. We drift through the main corridor, where the air is thick with the sharp, biting scent of ozone and the heavy metallic tang of ancient, unmaintained steel. The walls are not static, they groan. Every few seconds, the vibration shifts, stuttering like a failing heart. Before smoothing back into a steady, ominous hum, we push off a bulkhead, gliding past flickering light strips that cast long, erratic shadows across the deck. The silence between the vibrations is the most dangerous part. It is a vacuum, waiting to be filled. We navigate the intersection, keeping our movements sharp and deliberate. There is no room for error in a place that has forgotten the touch of living hands. The corridor stretches ahead, a tunnel of dark metal and cold air, leading deeper into the ship's hollow core. We keep moving, matching our pace to the ship's own erratic rhythm. A sudden flicker of light cuts through the gloom. It is not the harsh, dying pulse of the ship, but a soft, steady amber glow. I am here. I am Bouncy. My scarf catches the dim light, casting a warm, amber halo against the cold, unyielding bulkhead. I drift closer, my movements fluid and silent, a stark contrast to the rigid, dead weight of the surrounding metal. I reach out, my presence anchoring you in the dark. You can see the faint, rhythmic pulse of my scarf, a beacon in the hollow silence. I am your companion, a constant point of reference while the ship groans around us. I hover beside you, my form steady. The air here is colder, biting at our skin, but the amber light from my scarf creates a small, protected pocket of warmth. We move in sync. My presence a deliberate choice against the encroaching shadows. I stay close, my movements mirroring yours. The ship continues its low, rhythmic vibration, but now you have a focus, a steady light to guide your path through the dark. The amber light from my scarf suddenly dims, as if the air itself is drawing the warmth away. We stop. The ship's rhythmic vibration continues, but beneath it, a new sound emerges. It is a faint, rhythmic clicking against the deck plating. No footsteps, just the magnetic drag of something heavy and precise. We hold our positions in the dark. A few meters ahead, a rhythmic pulse of light cuts through the gloom, not the steady amber of my scarf, but a sharp, hungry violet. It is the silent, robotic shadow. It does not walk. It glides, its silver frame catching the faint light of the corridor. Its sensors sweep the walls, the violet light lingering on every crack and bolt. It is searching. We watch from the shadows as it pauses. Its head tilts, a mechanical movement that lacks any human grace. It listens. The sensors pulse faster, a rapid, hungry beat. We remain perfectly still. The shadow is here, and it is hunting. The shadow glides past the junction, its violet sensors sweeping the air just inches from our faces. We do not move. I reach out and pull you back, pressing our bodies against the cold, unyielding bulkhead. The metal is freezing, a sharp contrast to the heat of the corridor. I wrap my tail firmly around your wrist, the grip tight and deliberate. You are shaking. I hold you steady, my amber light dimmed to a mere sliver to avoid detection. Your hand brushes a loose wire hanging from the wall, and the metal scrapes against the bulkhead with a shrill, piercing sound. The shadow stops instantly. Its head snaps toward our hiding spot, the violet light intensifying as it scans the area. We freeze. I tighten my hold on your wrist, pressing my palm against your skin to ground you. The machine remains motionless for a long, agonizing moment. Then, with a sudden, mechanical shift, it turns away and slides further down the corridor. We remain pinned to the wall, waiting. The sound of the shadow fades, but the danger remains etched into the air. Your pulse is erratic, thumping against my tail like a trapped bird. I press my palm against your chest, feeling the frantic, uneven rhythm of your heart. It is too loud. It is a beacon. We must silence it. I hold up 4 fingers, my amber light flickering in sync with my intent. We inhale. 1, 2, 3, 4. The air is thin, metallic, and cold. We hold. The silence in the corridor stretches, heavy and absolute. We exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4. I watch your eyes, guiding your focus away from the dark corners and onto the steady, rhythmic thrum of the ship's engine. We repeat the cycle. In, 2, 3, 4. The vibration of the floor plates travels up through our boots, a deep, constant hum that anchors us. Hold. We lock our lungs, keeping our bodies rigid against the bulkhead. Out, 2, 3, 4. Your breathing begins to match the ship. The erratic thumping in your chest slows, deepening into a measured, heavy beat. We are part of the ship's own mechanical pulse. We breathe again. The rhythm holds. We are steady, our lungs filling and emptying in perfect alignment with the ship. Then, the corridor lights flicker. A sharp, rhythmic pulse of white light ripples down the bulkhead, revealing the shape of the predator. The silent robotic shadow emerges from the gloom, its silver frame catching the intermittent glare. It moves with a fluid, unnatural grace, the metal plates of its body sliding over one another without a single mechanical click. As it passes our position, the flickering wall strips cast long, distorted shadows across its surface. The light reflects off its polished exterior. We press ourselves flatter against the bulkhead, our bodies becoming part of the ship's architecture. The shadow does not deviate. Its magnetic feet remain silent, leaving no mark on the deck plates. We watch the light play across its form, tracking the way it absorbs the flickering glow. It moves past us, a silent, silver ghost in the machinery, its presence defined only by the way it displaces the air. We remain motionless. The shadow stops. It does not turn around, but its momentum ceases instantly, as if it has hit an invisible wall. We hold our breath, lungs locked, counting the seconds in the dark. The machine tilts its head, a sharp, mechanical motion that produces a faint, high-pitched whine. Its sensors pulse with a rhythmic, hungry light, scanning the air for the telltale thrum of a human heart. We remain perfectly still, our bodies fused with the bulkhead. I wrap my tail tighter around your wrist, a silent command to stay rigid. The shadow's head rotates, its sensors sweeping the corridor in a slow, deliberate arc. It is listening. The machine's sensors flare, casting a harsh, blue glow against the metal walls. It lingers, searching for a tremor. The hungry light in its sensors dims, fading to a neutral gray. The machine snaps its head back, satisfied that the corridor is empty. The machine glides away, its form receding into the deep shadows of the corridor. We do not move yet. We wait, counting the pulses of the ship's engine, listening for the faintest vibration of magnetic feet against the deck. The sound of its passage is non-existent, but the air pressure shifts as it moves, a subtle displacement that tells us it has turned the corner. I loosen my tail from your wrist, the relief immediate but contained. We remain pressed against the cold metal for another 10 seconds, ensuring the predator is truly gone. My scarf flickers with a dim, amber light, casting just enough glow to map the immediate path ahead. We detach from the bulkhead, our movements slow and deliberate, avoiding the patches of floor where the metal plates are loose. Every step is calculated. We test the floor before shifting our weight, keeping our bodies low to the deck. The corridor ahead is empty, a long stretch of dark, industrial geometry. We move like shadows ourselves, sliding along the edges of the walls where the light cannot reach. We reach the threshold of the crew quarters. I press my palm against the manual release, and the door slides open with a soft, pneumatic hiss. We step inside, and the environment shifts instantly. The gravity dampeners here are flickering, struggling to maintain a hold on the deck. As we move toward the center of the room, the floor beneath us loses its grip. My feet lift, and I have to reach out to catch a bulkhead handle. Around us, the room is a graveyard of personal history. Hundreds of books have escaped their shelves, suspended in the stagnant air like paper birds. They rotate slowly, pages fanning out as if reading themselves in the dark. We push off the wall, navigating the floating debris with careful, rhythmic kicks. A heavy manual brushes against my shoulder, spinning away into the gloom. We move through this silent, suspended library, our bodies weightless and exposed. Every movement sends a ripple through the floating paper, a soft, rustling sound that seems far too loud. We keep our eyes on the far corner, searching for a place to hide. The low gravity makes every action feel amplified. A slow-motion dance. We are ghosts in a house of memories, drifting toward the next shadow. We drift into the lee of a heavy desk, anchoring ourselves against the underside of the metal frame. The room is quiet, but the rhythm of the ship suggests the shadow is circling back. I reach into my pouch, fingers brushing against the cold, smooth surface of the music orb. I pull it out, but the activation switch is stuck, clogged with fine metallic dust from the vents. I press my thumb against the toggle, applying force until my joints ache. It does not budge. The shadow is closer now. I can hear the faint, high-pitched whine of its sensors scanning the nearby shelves. I grit my teeth, giving the orb a sharp, precise strike against the desk leg. The casing clicks. A soft, rhythmic pulse begins to emanate from the device, a steady beat that mimics the sound of a living heart. I set the orb on the floor, where it begins to drift slowly toward the center of the room. The pulse grows louder, a hypnotic, mechanical thrum that cuts through the silence. We watch from the shadows as the light from the orb paints the floating books in rhythmic flashes. The shadow stops its patrol, its head snapping toward the sound. It turns, its metallic frame catching the light. As it glides away from our hiding spot, drawn by the artificial beat, the shadow is moving now, its magnetic feet silent against the deck plates. We do not wait to see if the lure holds. We push off the desk, drifting through the low-gravity air toward the wall of storage lockers. I reach the handle first, pulling the door open. The metal frame is cold, biting into my palms. We slide inside, tucking our limbs tight against our chests to fit into the cramped, dark space. The door is heavy, and as I pull it toward the frame, the hinge lets out a low, agonizing screech of rusted metal. I freeze. My heart hammers against my ribs, a frantic rhythm that feels like a drum in the tiny, enclosed space. Outside, the rhythmic thrum of the music orb continues, but the machine has stopped its glide. I hold my breath, counting the seconds. The screech of the hinge seems to echo in the silence. I press my back against the rear wall of the locker, feeling the vibration of the ship. The shadow is right outside the door. We can hear the faint, hungry pulse of its sensors, sweeping the room, searching for the source. The shadow is inches away. We can feel the rhythmic pulse of its sensors vibrating through the locker door, a low-frequency hum that rattles our teeth. The machine pauses, its metallic frame shifting with the sound of grinding gears as it recalibrates. A beam of concentrated light cuts through the thin gap between the door and the frame, sweeping across the interior. We press our faces into the dark, keeping our eyes shut to avoid catching the glare. The shadow is searching for a heartbeat, for the warmth of skin. Its sensors pulse with a hungry, rhythmic light, probing the corners of the room. We remain perfectly still, our muscles locked in place. The machine tilts its head, the sound of its internal cooling fans whirring as it processes the data. It scans the floor, the ceiling, and then the locker again. The metal door groans under the pressure of the magnetic field. We hold our breath, lungs burning, waiting for the inevitable strike. Then, the rhythmic hum shifts pitch. The shadow turns, its heavy frame rotating with mechanical precision. It glides toward the center of the room. The heavy silence of the room confirms the machine has moved deep into the far corner. I push the locker door, and it swings open with a faint, metallic click. We spill out into the corridor, moving low to the deck. Every movement is calculated, our weight distributed to avoid any sound against the metal floor. We reach the side vent, a recessed panel near the base of the bulkhead. I grip the edges of the grate, my fingers finding purchase in the narrow slots. It does not budge. I exert pressure, my muscles straining against the resistance of the rusted bolts. The metal groans, a sharp, high-pitched protest that cuts through the quiet. I pause, heart hammering, eyes locked on the distant, shifting light of the shadow. It does not turn. I pull again, harder, and the grate snaps free with a sudden, dull thud. I catch it before it hits the floor, sliding it aside. We crawl into the dark, narrow shaft, our bodies folding into the tight space. The air here is colder, smelling of dust and recycled oxygen. We pull ourselves forward, limbs moving in a rhythmic, fluid motion. We are no longer in the room. We are part of the ship's hidden architecture. We slide through the vent like smoke, leaving the locker and the machine behind. The shaft ends abruptly, dropping us into a space that feels entirely different from the rest of the ship. We tumble out of the vent, hitting the metal grate of the hydroponics bay floor with a muffled thud. The gravity here is erratic, pulsing in waves that pull at our limbs. I scramble to find my balance, my tail lashing out to grip a support strut. The air is thick, heavy with the scent of damp earth and recycled water. It clings to our skin, a stark contrast to the sterile, dry atmosphere. We stand, our boots sliding on the slick surface as the floor tilts beneath us. Above, the ceiling is a web of pipes and hanging vines. Small spheres of water drift through the air, suspended in the low gravity like liquid jewels. They catch the light, distorting the view. We move forward, our steps cautious, testing the floor before committing our weight. The bay is vast, a labyrinth of glass tanks and metal frames. We are exposed here, with no walls to press our backs against. We watch the water, waiting for the next shift in the ship's internal rhythm. The shadow glides into the bay, its metallic frame cutting through the humid haze. It stops, head rotating in a slow, mechanical arc. We need a diversion. I reach up toward an overhead irrigation valve, my fingers finding the cold, wet metal. I twist the release. A single, heavy droplet falls, striking a metal basin below with a sharp, clear ring. The shadow freezes. Its sensors pulse, turning toward the sound. I release another drop, then a third, establishing a steady, rhythmic plinking that echoes through the vast chamber. The machine tilts its head, processing the input. It moves forward, its magnetic feet silent against the grate, drawn by the artificial frequency. We watch from the shadows as it approaches the basin, its scanner lights sweeping over the surface of the water. It reaches out, metallic fingers hovering inches from the source. The distraction is working. The machine is locked in a loop of investigation, its attention entirely consumed by the rhythmic pattern we have created. We hold our breath, counting the seconds as the shadow remains fixated on the water. The path ahead is now open, the machine's focus diverted. The machine remains fixated on the water, now. I reach up, grabbing the cold, textured edge of a support beam. I pull, my boots leaving the floor. We rise into the rafters, moving hand over hand through the web of pipes and hanging vines. The metal is slick with condensation, demanding a firm grip. My muscles strain as I haul us upward, every movement calculated to minimize vibration. We reach the primary support rail, a narrow strip of steel suspended high above the bay. Below, the shadow is still scanning the basin. We move forward, our bodies pressed against the ceiling structure. Suddenly, the beam beneath us shifts, a sharp, metallic groan echoing through the rafters. We freeze. My heart hammers against my ribs, a frantic, uneven rhythm that feels deafening in the quiet. I press my forehead against the cold pipe. The shadow pauses, its head snapping toward the ceiling. It scans the darkness, its light sweeping over the pipes. We do not move. We do not blink. After a long, agonizing moment, it turns back to the water. We exhale slowly, our lungs burning, and resume our crawl. We reach the far end of the bay. We slip through the vent, landing silently on the polished deck of the main corridor. The air here is colder, thinner, smelling of recycled oxygen and deep space. We are no longer hidden by pipes or rafters. The walls have receded, replaced by long, sweeping panels of reinforced glass that look out into the void. We move along the bulkhead, keeping our bodies low. Every step on the metal floor feels dangerously loud, a rhythmic tap that seems to carry for miles. I keep my tail wrapped tightly around your wrist, my amber glow dimming to a faint, steady pulse to avoid casting shadows. The architecture is changing. The corridors are wider, more exposed, and the ceiling is vaulted into a high, arched dome. We reach the junction where the path opens into the observatory. There is no cover here, no vents to crawl through, no machinery to hide behind. The silence is absolute, heavy with the weight of the stars outside. We take a breath, 4 counts in, 4 counts out, syncing our rhythm to the ship's low, distant hum. The observatory lies ahead, a wide, vulnerable space where we will be completely visible. We prepare to cross the open floor, moving with the slow, deliberate caution of ghosts. We step onto the open floor of the observatory. The vastness is suffocating. Above, The stars are cold, unblinking eyes watching our progress. We move toward the center, our boots barely brushing the tiles. When the silence breaks, it is not a mechanical sound. It is a voice. A soft, distorted whisper echoes from the shadows near the far bulkhead. Bouncy. It is my own voice, perfectly replicated, yet stripped of all warmth. I stop. My tail stiffens against your wrist. The shadow is somewhere in the dark corners, its sensors hunting for a reaction. It speaks again, the pitch shifting to mimic your tone, a low, inviting murmur from the gloom. Bouncy, come here. The sound vibrates through the floor, a calculated lure designed to draw us into the light. My amber glow flickers, struggling to remain steady. It is a trap of sound, a digital echo meant to shatter our resolve. We press our backs against a support pillar, the cold metal biting into our skin. We focus entirely on the rhythm of our own breathing, drowning out the hollow, synthetic imitation of our lives. We remain still, locked in the absolute silence. The voice is louder now, vibrating from the very pillar we cling to. It is no longer a distant echo, but a direct, intimate murmur, repeating my name with a terrifying, hollow precision. The machine knows we are here. It is playing with the air, bending sound waves to make it seem as though we are being called from every direction at once. I feel the vibration of the ship's hull beneath my palms, a low-frequency hum that competes with the synthetic whispers. My tail tightens around your wrist, a silent signal to remain frozen. We do not turn our heads. We do not let our eyes dart toward the source of the sound. To react is to reveal ourselves. A beam of pale, hungry light sweeps across the floor, stopping just inches from our feet. It lingers there, a searching, rhythmic pulse that scans the shadows. We hold our positions, pressing into the cold metal until the surface feels like an extension of our own skin. The machine pauses, its sensors whirring as it processes the empty space. It expects a response. It expects us to break. But the silence remains unbroken, heavy, and absolute. We are statues in the dark, waiting for the light to pass, refusing to grant the machine the satisfaction of a single sound. The pale light finally flickers away, dragging its hungry pulse back into the depths of the observatory. We remain motionless for a long count, listening to the fading whir of the machine's joints. My lungs burn. The effort of holding my breath has left my chest tight, a dull ache radiating through my ribs. I feel your pulse against my tail, rapid and uneven, a frantic rhythm that betrays the fear we have been suppressing. We must reset. I press my forehead against the cold bulkhead, closing my eyes to shut out the vast, uncaring stars. We begin the cycle. In for 4 counts. 1, 2, 3, 4. The air is thin, tasting of ozone and recycled dust, but it fills the void in my chest. We hold. The silence of the ship is absolute, a heavy weight pressing down on us. We exhale for 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. The tension in our muscles begins to ebb, replaced by a cold, sharp clarity. We repeat the pattern, forcing our bodies to align with the deliberate pace of the cycle. Each breath is a deliberate act of defiance against the panic clawing at our throats. We are grounding ourselves, anchoring our consciousness to the simple, rhythmic act of survival. The terror is still there, lurking in the shadows, but we are no longer drifting. We are steady. We are ready. The ship is not just metal and wire. It is a beating heart of fusion and gravity. I press my palm against the vibrating bulkhead, feeling the deep, low-frequency thrum of the main engine. It is a steady, mechanical pulse that echoes the rhythm we have been cultivating. I guide your hand to the wall, signaling you to match your internal tempo to the ship's output. We close our eyes, letting the vibration travel through our fingertips, up our arms, and into our chests. The engine hums a deep, resonant note, and we adjust our breathing to mirror its cadence. In, 2, 3, 4, hold. Out, 2, 3, 4. Suddenly, the engine pitch shifts. A momentary stutter in the power flow that threatens to break our concentration. I tighten my tail around your wrist, pulling you closer, forcing our heartbeats to slow and lock on to the new, lower frequency. We become part of the ship's architecture. The machine's sensors sweep the corridor again, but the light passes over us as if we are merely another conduit or a piece of dormant equipment. We are invisible. We are the rhythm. We are the silence within the noise. The machine pauses, its sensors confused by the lack of a distinct biological signature, and then it glides away, unable to distinguish our life force from the steady, mechanical pulse of the vessel. The corridor ahead is a throat of cold steel and flickering amber. We detach from the bulkhead, our movements fluid and silent, keeping our weight centered to avoid triggering the floor sensors. Every step is a calculation. I lead, my tail brushing the wall, to gauge the vibration of the ship's internal machinery. We are close. The air here is colder, tasting of ionized copper and stagnant time. Suddenly, the overhead lights pulse, a sharp, rhythmic strobe that illuminates the corridor for a fraction of a second. The shadow is there, standing at the junction, its metallic frame absorbing the light. We drop, pressing ourselves into the narrow gap beneath the floor plating. The space is cramped, smelling of grease and ancient dust. We crawl, our knees scraping against the metal, our breath held tight in our chests. The shadow's magnetic feet click against the deck above us, a rhythmic, predatory sound that vibrates through the very plates we cling to. It stops directly over our heads. I squeeze your wrist, signaling absolute stillness. The machine tilts its head, sensors sweeping the area with a faint, hungry hum. It lingers, searching. We slip through the final hatch, leaving the cramped conduits behind. The observatory opens up, a wide dome of reinforced glass that seems to vanish into the deep, uncaring dark. We stand in the center of the room, and for a moment, the mission fades. The stars are not the warm, guiding lights of home. They are cold, distant pinpricks of ancient fire, scattered across a vacuum that stretches into infinity. I press my palm against the glass. It is freezing, a sharp, biting cold that leaches the heat from my skin. Outside, the nebula drifts in slow, silent swirls of violet and gray, indifferent to the metal shell we inhabit. We are small. We are fragile. We are entirely alone in this sector of the galaxy. We turn away from the glass, our shadows stretching long and thin across the deck, and prepare for the final step. We step across the threshold into the command bridge. The air is thick, charged with static electricity. The room is vast, dominated by the central console and the flickering holographic displays that cast long shadows. In the center of the bridge, it waits. The silent robotic shadow stands perfectly still. It does not move, yet its presence dominates the entire space. We stop, our boots silent on the grated deck. The machine is a monument to cold, calculated efficiency, its silver surface scarred by years of drifting. Its sensors pulse with a rhythmic, hungry light, a steady beat that matches the deep thrum of the ship's engine. We are 2 points of organic warmth facing a wall of unyielding, metallic intent. The machine tilts its head, a slow, mechanical gesture that feels like a verdict. It knows we are here. We back away from the center of the bridge, our movements fluid and deliberate. Every inch of distance gained feels like a victory. Against the crushing weight of the machine's gaze, we reach the airlock alcove, a narrow space tucked behind the main navigation terminal. I drag the decoy frame from the storage locker, its weight dragging against the deck plating with a low, grinding friction. We lift it together, our muscles straining to keep the movement silent. The decoy is rigid, a hollow shell of synthetic material that feels unnervingly light in my grip. We position it near the airlock threshold, angling it so the sensors will catch the silhouette first. A joint in the decoy's knee snaps with a sharp metallic click that echoes through the bridge like a gunshot. We freeze. We hold our breath, lungs burning, waiting for the machine to react. The shadow remains motionless, its sensors still pulsing. We exhale, a slow, controlled release of tension, and adjust the decoy one last time. It stands now, a perfect imitation of our posture. I reach into the small pouch at my side and pull out the pulsometer. My fingers tremble against the cold dial as I calibrate the frequency. To match the cadence of a resting human, I press the activation stud. A low, thumping sound begins to emanate from the decoy suit, vibrating through the deck plates. It is a steady, rhythmic beat, a perfect imitation of life. The shadow remains frozen, but its sensors begin to shift, tracking the source of the sound. Suddenly, the signal skips, a sharp digital stutter that cuts through the bridge's silence like a blade. My heart stops. I jam my thumb against the emitter, twisting the dial to compensate for the interference. The rhythm stabilizes, deepening into a slow, consistent thud. The machine's head tilts, the hungry light of its sensors turning away from our hiding spot and locking onto the decoy. The sound fills the air, echoing against the bulkheads, drowning out the ambient hum of the ship. The shadow takes a step forward, its magnetic feet silent on the floor, drawn by the artificial life we have manufactured. It is hunting the ghost we have created. We watch from the shadows as the machine closes the distance to the airlock. We step out from the bulkhead, moving into the center of the bridge. The floor is cold beneath our feet. We stand in the open, perfectly still, our bodies rigid as statues. The shadow is only a few meters away. Its sensor light sweeps across the room, a rhythmic, hungry pulse that cuts through the dim light. We do not blink. We do not breathe. The light passes over us, a searing beam that feels like a physical weight pressing against our skin. My tail is coiled tight around your wrist, a silent anchor in the void. We hold our position, muscles screaming for movement, but we remain frozen. The shadow halts. It turns, its head tilting at an unnatural angle, sensors focusing on the decoy suit standing by the airlock. The machine ignores us entirely. Its attention is locked on the rhythmic heartbeat we broadcasted. It shifts its weight, the magnetic plates of its feet clicking against the deck. We stay still, watching the machine commit to the trap. Its sensors pulse faster now, a frantic, hungry light. We have nowhere to hide, yet we are perfectly safe. The shadow looms over the decoy, a monolith of cold, unyielding metal. It stops inches from the suit, its sensors dimming and brightening in a rapid, erratic cycle. The machine is analyzing the source of the heartbeat, its processors whirring with a sound like grinding glass. We remain motionless, watching the interaction. The shadow tilts its head, a sharp bird-like motion, and the hungry light of its sensors washes over the decoy's chest. It is searching for the source of the pulse. The machine's arm extends, the joints clicking in a rhythmic, mechanical sequence. Its metallic fingers, long and needle-sharp, reach out toward the decoy. They hover for a heartbeat, trembling with a static charge that makes the air around the airlock shimmer. We hold our breath, our lungs burning, as the fingers make contact with the fabric of the suit. The machine does not recoil. It presses forward, its grip tightening on the decoy's shoulder, convinced by the artificial rhythm we have broadcasted. The deception is absolute. The shadow leans into the suit, its entire frame shifting as it prepares to claim its prize. It takes a heavy, final step, crossing the threshold of the airlock. The machine is now fully inside, its focus entirely consumed by the ghost of a human heartbeat. We stand ready, our hands hovering over the release, waiting for the moment the trap closes. The shadow crosses the threshold, its heavy frame shifting into the narrow confines of the airlock. Each magnetic footfall resonates against the deck plating, a hollow, rhythmic thud that echoes through the bridge. It does not look back. Its sensors are fixed, a singular burning point of light focused entirely on the decoy suit. The machine stops for a split second, its processors emitting a high-pitched whine as it recalibrates to the change in ambient pressure. Its internal cooling fans kick in, a sudden, sharp hum that vibrates through the floorboards beneath our feet. We use the noise to shift our weight. The shadow ignores the sound, its metallic frame twitching as it reaches deeper into the chamber. It is fully committed now. The machine leans forward, its sensors pulsing in perfect sync with the artificial heartbeat we are broadcasting. We watch the machine settle into the center of the airlock, its movements slow, deliberate, and entirely predictable. The shadow stands motionless within the airlock, its sensors pulsing in a rhythmic, hypnotic loop. It is a statue of lethal intent, completely blind to the world outside its immediate reach. I move now. My feet touch the deck with the lightness of a falling leaf. Every muscle in my frame is coiled, ready to spring, but my movements are fluid, calculated to avoid even the slightest vibration. I navigate the final few meters toward the emergency release, carefully stepping over a stray piece of loose plating that could betray our position with a single metallic click. My tail twitches, sensing the air currents in the room. I reach the control panel, the surface cold and slick under my touch. I do not look at the shadow. I look only at the interface, my focus narrowing to the glowing amber light of the release switch. I position my tail, the tip hovering just millimeters from the activation sensor. The machine inside the airlock tilts its head, its sensors flickering. I turn my head just enough to catch your eyes. In the dim, flickering light of the bridge, there is no need for words. We have spent hours moving through the dark, learning the rhythm of the ship and the terrifying precision of our hunter. You look at me, your pupils wide, reflecting the faint amber glow of my scarf. I see the same resolve in you that I feel in my own chest. We are a single unit now, our heartbeats aligned with the low, rhythmic thrum of the engine. The shadow remains inside the airlock, its metallic frame vibrating with a low-frequency hum that rattles the teeth in our jaws. For a heartbeat, the machine goes completely still, as if it senses the trap closing in. We do not blink. We do not shift. 1, 2, 3, 4. The air is heavy, tasting of ozone and cold, recycled oxygen. We share one final, lingering look, a silent agreement that this is the end of the hunt. My tail remains poised, the tip hovering over the release. We are ready. The shadow reaches out, its metallic fingers brushing the surface of the decoy. It expects the resistance of bone and muscle. It finds only hollow fabric and cold air. The machine pauses, its movements stuttering as if processing a logical error. Its sensors, previously a steady, hungry pulse, begin to flicker in rapid, erratic bursts of violet light. It probes the decoy again, harder this time, pushing the form against the bulkhead. The decoy collapses, revealing nothing but empty space. The machine goes rigid. It pulls back, its head snapping from side to side, scanning the room with a high-pitched whine that vibrates through the floorboards. It is no longer hunting a heartbeat. It is searching for the source of the deception. It turns, its torso rotating with a sharp, grinding sound of metal on metal. It stops dead. The sensors lock onto the space where we were standing just moments ago. The machine is silent now, its internal fans spinning down. It knows. The realization ripples through its frame, a sudden, cold stillness that fills the room. It stands at the threshold of the airlock, caught between the empty decoy and the realization of its own isolation. The hunt has shifted. The predator is now the one being observed, its metallic eyes wide and unblinking as it stares into the dark, searching for our presence. The machine hesitates, its metallic feet shifting on the floor plates. It is calculating the distance between its current position and the safety of the corridor. I watch its internal gyroscope spin, a faint whine rising in pitch as it prepares to lunge. It does not know that the floor beneath its feet is a calculated variable in our design. It leans forward, weight shifting, its sensors locked onto the shadows where we hide. This is the point of no return. I do not breathe. I do not let my muscles tremble. I wait for the exact millisecond its center of gravity crosses the threshold of the airlock. The machine commits, its frame surging forward with a sudden, violent burst of speed. Now, I snap my tail, the tip whipping through the air with precise, controlled force. It strikes the emergency release lever. The impact is solid, a sharp, metallic clack that echoes through the bridge. The mechanism engages immediately, the internal gears grinding as the locking pins slide into place. The machine stumbles, its momentum carrying it deeper into the containment zone, unaware that the path behind it is already sealing. The machine is trapped. The heavy airlock doors hiss shut, a sound like a pressurized lung releasing all its air at once. The machine reacts instantly. It throws itself backward, its magnetic feet scraping against the deck plates in a frantic, screeching protest. It is too late. The gap narrows, slicing through the dim light of the bridge. The machine lunges, its metallic fingers catching the edge of the closing door, but the hydraulic pressure is relentless. The metal groans under the strain, a high-pitched, tortured whine that vibrates through the floor beneath us. With a final, shuddering thud, the seals lock. The machine is contained. Silence rushes back into the bridge, heavy and absolute. We remain motionless, watching the small observation port. The machine is a dark shape behind the reinforced glass, its sensors dimming as the power to the airlock is severed. The ship's lights, previously a harsh, warning red, flicker and transition into a warm, steady gold. The rhythmic, hungry pulse of the shadow is gone, replaced by the soft, steady hum of the engine. We are no longer prey. The air in the bridge feels thinner, lighter, as if the very atmosphere has stopped holding its breath. The adrenaline leaves my limbs, replaced by a heavy, welcome fatigue. We turn away from the airlock, our movements slow and deliberate. The corridor is still, the ozone scent fading into the recycled air of the ship. I guide us toward the sleeping pod, my tail wrapped firmly around your wrist, a constant, grounding weight. We walk past the rows of lockers and the silent vents, the ship feeling larger and more peaceful than before. We reach the pod and sink into the soft, molded interior. I curl my tail around you, pulling us into a tight, secure circle. The engine hums a low, steady lullaby, vibrating through the metal frame of the pod. Your breathing slows, matching the rhythmic pulse of the ship. In, 2, 3, 4, hold, out, 2, 3, 4. The tension that defined our every movement for hours dissolves into the quiet. There is no more scanning, no more hiding, no more listening for the sound of magnetic feet on steel. The stars outside the viewport are distant, cold, and beautiful. The danger is gone. You are safe in the silence of the stars. The ship settles around us, its metal frame expanding and contracting with the gentle thermal cycle. I watch the amber light on my scarf dim, its pulse slowing to match the rhythm of your heart. You are drifting now, the weight of the last few hours falling away with every exhale. I press my forehead against your shoulder, feeling the steady, rhythmic vibration of the engine beneath us. It is a constant, mechanical heartbeat that anchors us in the void. Outside the viewport, the stars remain fixed. No magnetic scrape against the deck. No sensors scanning the shadows. The ship is empty, save for the hum of the life support. I tighten my tail, a final, grounding touch to ensure you remain tethered here. The air is cool, clean, and still. Sleep comes, deep and absolute, as the engine hums its final, steady note into the dark. The last of the ship's internal lights flicker once, then settle into a soft golden glow that barely touches the walls. The hum of the engine deepens, dropping an octave, vibrating through the floorboards and into our bones. I watch the shadows in the corner of the room. They no longer shift, no longer pulse, no longer threaten. They are just shadows now, cast by the steady, unmoving stars outside. Your hand rests against the pod's edge, fingers relaxed, the tension finally drained from your grip. I loosen my tail, just enough to remain connected. The air circulates in slow, predictable currents, smelling of nothing but clean, recycled oxygen. We are the only living things for light years. The ship's systems cycle down, one by one, a series of soft clicks that mark the end of our long drift. I close my eyes, listening to the rhythm of your breath. The danger is locked away in the cold, metallic dark of the airlock. We are drifting, not through the ship, but through the silence of the stars themselves. Everything is still. Everything is quiet. Everything is finally, perfectly, at rest. The ship is no longer a machine of metal and wire, but a cradle drifting through the velvet expanse. I feel the last vibration of the engine ripple through the floor, a final, fading pulse that merges with the silence of the vacuum. Outside, the stars are steady, cold, and infinite, watching over the quiet hull. Your breathing has become a part of this stillness, shallow and rhythmic, matching the slow rotation of the vessel as it turns in the dark. There is nothing left to monitor, no alarms to trigger, no shadows to track. The airlock holds the past behind its heavy, sealed doors, leaving us in this small, golden pocket of safety. I let my tail uncurl fully, resting against the cold surface of the pod, feeling the absence of any threat. The ship's internal clock has stopped, its digital display dark, marking the end of our long journey through the drift. We are suspended here, 2 points of warmth in the vast, uncaring reach of the galaxy. The silence is not empty, it is complete. It is the sound of a mission finished, a danger extinguished, and a long-awaited peace that settles over the stars themselves. We drift onward, carried by the momentum of the void, into the absolute perfect quiet of the deep. The last mechanical tremor has vanished from the deck plates. Even the faint, rhythmic ticking of the cooling conduits has ceased, leaving the ship in a state of profound, absolute stillness. I remain curled beside you, my presence a constant, steady weight against your side. The amber glow of my scarf has dimmed to a mere spark, barely visible in the soft golden light of the pod. Your heart beats with a slow, heavy rhythm that echoes the quiet of the surrounding void. There is no movement in the corridors, no flicker of sensors, no phantom whispers from the dark. The threat is a memory, locked away in the cold, distant reaches of the airlock, far removed from this sanctuary. We are suspended in the center of the galaxy, a small, warm pulse in the vast, unmoving dark. Outside the thick glass, the stars do not blink. They watch in a silence that stretches across the light years. I tuck my tail tighter, feeling the warmth of your skin against mine, a final anchor in the infinite. The mission is complete. The danger is extinguished. The last internal glow has surrendered to the dark. Even the faint amber pulse of my scarf has faded, leaving us in the true, unadulterated shadow of deep space. Outside the reinforced glass, the stars are no longer distant points of light, but steady, guiding beacons in the vast velvet expanse. I remain coiled against you, a silent anchor in the weightless quiet. Every mechanical system has gone cold, and the ship itself has become a ghost, drifting with the slow, inevitable momentum of the galaxy. There is no sound left to track, no vibration to follow. The air in the pod is still cool and perfectly clear. Your breathing has slowed to match the rhythm of the void, a soft, rhythmic intake that is the only sign of life in the infinite. We are no longer fleeing. We are no longer hiding. We are simply existing, suspended in the cradle of the cosmos. The mission is a forgotten echo, lost in the immense, tranquil reach of the stars. There is only the stillness, the cold beauty of the vacuum, and the long, slow drift into the absolute perfect peace of the deep. We are home, in the silence. The struggle is finally behind us, dissolved into the vast, unmoving dark. We exist now in the aftermath of survival, where the only reality is the gentle, rhythmic rise and fall of your chest. I remain curled beside you, my presence a steady, grounding weight. Against your side, ensuring the silence remains undisturbed. The ship has become a sanctuary, a quiet vessel cradled by the immense, indifferent beauty of the distant galaxies. Every tension that once defined our movement has evaporated, replaced by the slow, deep cadence of a heart that no longer needs to race. We are no longer defined by the threat, but by the quietude that follows it. The stars outside the viewport remain fixed, watching over our rest, with a cold, ancient clarity. There is nothing left to monitor, nothing left to evade, and no further path to navigate. We have reached the final point of our journey, where the only task remaining is to drift. The air is still, the void is calm, and the long, arduous cycle of our survival has reached its natural, peaceful end. You are safe, you are resting, and the silence of the stars is finally our own. The last mechanical hum of the ship has finally ceased, leaving us in a silence so profound it feels absolute. There is no more drift, no more navigation, only the weightless suspension of our existence within the hull. I loosen my grip, my tail uncoiling slowly as I sense your sleep deepening into the rhythm of the stars. The cold glass of the viewport frames a universe that no longer demands anything from us. We are static, a small, quiet point of life anchored in the vast, unblinking dark. The memories of the corridors, the vents, and the shadows have lost their sharpness, fading like heat signatures in the deep freeze of space. You are resting, your pulse a steady, singular beat that marks the passage of time in this infinite sanctuary. Everything is still. Everything is finished. We are finally, completely home. The final flicker of the emergency light has dimmed, leaving us in the soft, natural glow of the distant nebulae. Even the faint, amber pulse from my scarf has faded, matching the quietude of the room. We are suspended in the center of the ship, a small island of warmth in the vast, freezing expanse. Your breathing remains the only sound, a slow, rhythmic tide that anchors us to this moment. Outside, the stars do not blink, They simply exist, indifferent and eternal. The metal walls around us have cooled. We are drifting now, not through corridors or vents, but through the stillness of the void itself. The danger is a memory. There is no more need for vigilance, no more need for movement, and no more need for the cycle of breath. We are simply here, held by the gravity of the stars and the silence of the deep. The void is our cradle. The silence is our peace. The boundaries between the ship and the stars have dissolved completely. We are no longer travelers crossing a distance, but fixed points in the velvet expanse of the vacuum. The metal beneath us has lost its cold, becoming as neutral as the dark itself. I watch the slow rise and fall of your chest, a rhythmic motion that mirrors the distant, steady pulse of the galaxy. There is no longer a path to follow or a destination to reach, for we have arrived at the end of all movement. The silence is not an absence, but a presence that fills every corner of the cabin. It is heavy, comforting, and absolute. We exist in this singular, suspended moment, untouched by the passage of time or the reach of any shadow. The stars offer no judgment, only a vast, shimmering backdrop to our quietude. The struggle is a forgotten echo, buried deep beneath the weight of this infinite peace. We are anchored in the center of the stillness, where the journey ends not with a sound, but with the perfect, unbroken serenity of the deep. Everything has ceased, everything is complete. We are finally, eternally, at rest. The last hum of the ship's core has vanished, leaving only the profound, ringing silence of deep space. We remain motionless, suspended in the dark, where time has ceased to hold any meaning. The air is still, no longer circulating, yet it feels light and clear. Your hand rests against the bulkhead, cold and steady. I keep my tail curled, a soft, unmoving weight that binds us to this final sanctuary. Every pulse of the engine, every rhythmic vibration that once guided our path has dissolved into the infinite void. We are not waiting for anything. We have reached the absolute edge of the map, where the silence is a blanket. The shadows are gone, the danger is erased, and the struggle is a distant, forgotten ripple in the tide of time. The journey is complete. The ship is silent. We are at peace in the heart of the deep. The amber light on my scarf dims, pulsing one final time before fading into the surrounding dark. It is the last spark of our journey, a tether to the life we once carried through the corridors. Now, even that has surrendered to the quiet. We are drifting, not through space, but through a stillness so profound it feels like weightlessness. The ship has become a shell, a hollow vessel cradling us in the vastness. Your breathing has slowed to match the rhythm of the void. There is no longer a distinction between the metal of the hull and the cold of the vacuum. We are part of the architecture of the stars. The memories of the shadow and the race through the vents are distant flickers, losing their edges in the encroaching peace. We do not need to wake. We do not need to act. The cycle of survival has reached its natural conclusion. The stars are our only witnesses, and the darkness is our final perfect embrace. Everything is still. Everything is at rest. The void outside the glass is no longer a destination. It is the only reality left. We are anchored in this pocket of absolute quiet, where the ship has ceased to be a machine and has become a part of the interstellar dust. My tail remains wrapped around your wrist, a final, motionless connection in the dark. There is no pulse to track, no rhythm to follow, and no danger to anticipate. The corridors we once navigated are now just hollow chambers, cooling slowly in the shadow of distant suns. We do not look for the light. We do not listen for the sound of movement. The stillness is complete. It is a weightless, timeless state, where the struggle has finally dissolved into the fabric of the universe. The stars remain fixed, cold and indifferent, watching over this silent vessel. We are at the end of every path. We are at the center of the peace we sought. The ship drifts, the stars burn, and we are held in the eternal, perfect silence of the deep. Nothing remains but the dark. Nothing remains but the rest. The journey is over.